My name's Naaber, adventurer to be, soon to be the best adventurer anyone's ever seen. As soon as I figure out what kind of adventurer I want to be. What do you think? Can I be a fighter? What do you think? Am I a good bard? For I am to be the most mighty wizard! I'm gonna be the best monk there ever was! I'm a shadow, a master of sneakery, a rogue! Yes, I was born to be a sorcerer! I am but your humble paladin. These roles sure are restrictive, aren't they? Wait, what if I mix the classes? Naaber, you genius!
Imagine, if you will, what would have happened if in Baldur's Gate 3 it wasn't Tav or any of the origin characters that was the main protagonist, but Naaber. Would Naaber be able to survive the many dangers of Baldur's Gate 3? Would he be able to conquer its many challenges, and would he be able to save the city and the world? That's what I wanted to find out. So, here's the story of Naaber, the best adventurer anyone's ever seen. But before we start, what does it mean to play the game as Naaber? Let's go over the rules of this challenge. First, this one is going to be played on Tactician difficulty, and it's going to be a solo one. I'm still able to recruit companions, but they cannot aid me in battle. Temporary companions and summons are completely fine though. Second, the most important rule to playing as Naaber: whenever I gain a level, I must take a level in a new class. You can get up to 12 level in this game, and there are 12 classes to choose. So at the end of the game, I will have exactly 1 level in every class. Third, I want to be as close to recreating Naaber as I can. He actually has 10 in every ability, which the game won't let me just put 10 in everything without mods. So when I create a character, it must be a human and have equal stats in all ability scores, which will be 13 in all stats. Also, I'm giving myself additional rules to make it more interesting. I cannot move or place exploding barrels or throw smoke powder bombs. If an exploding barrel just happens to be in a convenient place, I can blow it up. I just can't move it or pick it up. I also won't allow myself to pick up or move crates to, say, block doorways or build barricades. Also, I won't allow myself to use spell scrolls that exceed my highest spell slot. If my highest spell slot is level 3, I cannot use a scroll of a spell that is level 4 or higher. Scrolls below that are fair game. And if a piece of equipment lets me cast higher spells, that's also fine. It's just to prevent me from hoarding a bunch of powerful scrolls and gain access to high level magic that way. Now, what does this challenge mean for me mechanically? Well, I will never get an ability score improvement, no feat, no extra attack, I cannot learn spells higher than level 1 except from scrolls, and will never have a spell slot higher than 3rd level. Also, most of each class's most important features will be inaccessible, so I will be a druid that can't wild shape, a rogue without cunning action, a cleric that can't channel divinity, a fighter with no action surge, a paladin that cannot smite, etc. Alright, let's do this. So I start off making Naaber in the character creator and take my first level in cleric. As a cleric, you right away gain proficiency with heavy armor and shields and get some incredibly important spells as well. I take the soldier background for proficiency and intimidation. I set all my ability scores to 13. For my cantrips I choose resistance, thaumaturgy, and most importantly guidance for the bonuses they give you outside of combat. The most important spell I get is sanctuary, which will come up throughout the game. Though, with only 13 wisdom, we can only prepare 2 spells at once, and we have a base +3 to hit and a spell save DC of 11, which is pretty terrible. Clerics also get their subclass at level 1, and I choose War Priest, because having the option to make at least a few attacks as a bonus action per day is important to this character. And with that, I can start the tutorial, pick up a brain, meet Lae'zel, and start fighting some imps. Lae'zel would rather jump into the hells than spend any more time with Naaber, so I continue with just us. I ignore Shadowheart and proceed to the helm. where I use Command Drop to steal the Everburn Blade from Commander Zod and teleport us out of Avernus. At the beach, I sneak past the Brains and meet Astarion and Gale, which gets me to level 2, which I put into Wizard. Fortunately, that still increases our spell slots, so leveling into caster classes will still give us more magic and higher spell slots. The Wizard class also gives extremely useful spells, even at level 1. I take the very useful Mage Hand and Minor Illusion cantrips, as well as Firebolt for our first ranged attack cantrip. For spells I choose Enhanced Leap, Feather Fall, Disguise Self, Sleep, Thunder Wave and Magic Missile for a good balance between utility and damage. Here I also run into the problem that I can only prepare 2 spells due to my low intelligence. With level 2 I'm ready to take on the first real fight of the game against a group of goblins. However, I'm not going to be the one fighting. I'll just give moral support to the people who do the actual work. I cast Enhanced Leap and jump onto the gate, which starts the fight. And then I spend every round blowing this horn to give every ally 8 temporary hit points over and over. That way it's very hard for the goblins, but they still managed to take out Bath with 2 consecutive critical hits for 29 damage. Still, with my brave support from Absolute Safety, it's only a matter of time until all the goblins are defeated.
That was the last of them. Inside, all of you!
After that I head into the grove and get the gloves of missile snaring from the trader and potions of hill giant strength from Ethel. These potions are incredibly useful, since they are among the only ways to increase my ability score. So I take as many as I can and make sure to drink one after every long rest, increasing my strength from 13 to 21 pretty much permanently. I leave the grove and arrive at the Blighted Village, where I use Disguise Self to turn myself into a drow, which lets you easily talk your way past these goblins in the village.
Apologies, your lordship.
These goblins at the mill.
Pardon, madam, I didn't mean to doubt you.
These goblins at the bridge.
Coming through.
And these goblins in the stronghold.
Guessing you're after them far.
Gaining experience every time, which was enough for level 3, Sorcerer. That gives me more cantrips, and I pick Shield as a first level spell. I picked the Storm Sorcerer subclass for the ability to fly after casting a spell without triggering opportunity attacks. In the Goblin camp I get the Returning Pike from the Merchant. Throwing builds are incredibly powerful in Baldur's Gate, and that's no different in this challenge. I let myself be branded by Gut with the Mark of the Absolute. I return to the Blighted Village, show my mark to Lum and the other ogres, and recruit them to fight for me. And I get a very lucky dirty 20. I enter into a basement in the Blighted Village, bludgeon some skeletons before they could react. Learn how to summon a Quasit, and get a very scary necromancy book for later. Then I just travel around and collect XP that doesn't require fighting. With Disguise Self I convince some Githyanki that I'm totally one of them, so I don't have to fight them. Then I go to these Paladins of Tyr. They can be pretty tough normally because their leader can do some nasty smite attacks and potentially one-shot characters at this level. But they made the silly decision to stay in a building next to a cliff, and the balcony doesn't even have safety railings. A terrible accident indeed. I scare off some bandits from these old ruins, and inside I surprise 1, 2, and blow up 2 more with some convenient oil barrel. That only leaves 2 more, which I just about managed to fight on my own. Deeper in the crypt, I meet some more skeletons and equip my big bludgeoning stick, since they are vulnerable to bludgeoning damage. The warrior goes down easily enough because it seems he lost his sword somehow, but the other scribes actually managed to kill me, casting spells from a distance. On my second try I hide in this room and wait for them to come to me, dealing with them one by one as they get to me. Back in the grove I save a child, which gets me to level 4. Before continuing taking spellcaster levels, I decide to take Rogue to get expertise in Intimidation and Sleight of Hand, both very useful skills to have throughout the adventure, especially talking my way out of trouble. Next I decide to fight the Gnoll that are attacking the Zentarim smugglers in a cave. I sneak in through the back and without anyone seeing me, I steal this strange glowing flask from their chest. Then immediately decide that it would be a good idea to throw said flask at the Gnolls outside. That releases a spectator from imprisonment. But luckily he will attack anything he sees. I really don't want to even try to fight these Gnolls head on, since they are absolutely brutal at this point in the game, and I would stand no chance against them by myself. These Gnolls can make 3 attacks per turn and can just shred through an entire party. But now I have a powerful ally. Or so I thought. However, even the 176 HP spectator barely puts up a fight against the Gnoll horde before being paralyzed and absolutely obliterated. After it dies, I try my best to fight the remaining Gnolls, and there are only 2 left, but the Gnoll leader is just too strong. So I try another approach, and this time walk to the Gnoll horde from the other side. This way, you can convince the Gnoll leader to fight against the rest of the pack, while I just cast Sanctuary and just watch them fight without them being able to attack me. But the Gnoll horde is still too strong for their leader, so I need more allies. I summon the ogres to help. But their help really isn't worth much and they die quite quickly. But now what's left is finally better enough that I can just about finish them off with the help of Shovel, and even then it's still a close fight in the end. At least, I earn 1 Mind Flayer Parasite from the Gnoll leader, as well as the Headband of Intellect from the Ogre Lump. This headband sets my intelligence score to 17, which improves my wizard spells and allows me to prepare 2 additional spells. Back at the Goblin camp, I ask God for help with my parasite problem and she generously offers to remove the tadpole using a potion. I drink it, no questions asked, and am shocked when it turns out to be a sleeping potion, and now she has trapped me. Fortunately, I'm rescued by a mysterious stranger, and she kills God for me and lets me take the loot. Another parasite and an amulet of Misty Step. Time to rescue Halsin. Getting him out of his cell is the easy part. But he insists on me killing the goblin leaders, Menfara, Gut and Draw Waxler. Gut is already taken care of, but the other 2 are a significant problem. There is a way to kill both of them by letting them fall into chasms, but I really wanted their parasites as well, so I will have to actually fight them and basically the rest of the goblin camp by extension. Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Not yet, at least. So out we go to gain more experience. And on my way out, I poison these goblins in preparation for later. There is an owlbear that I have been avoiding because they can one-shot me. But with the help of 2 true souls and an ambush from Shovel, it doesn't put up much resistance, being stun-locked the whole fight by one of my allies, while I and the other one strike it down. Time to bring the mysterious flask that I got back to the Xantharine, by which I mean brutally murder all of them. Now, I'm not allowed to place explosive barrels, but if they just happen to have a whole bunch of them everywhere in their base, well, that's just their fault. There's a second group of Xantharine further back in the cave. They must have just missed the giant explosion because they are still friendly. Just lure them onto this platform with another convenient explosive barrel beneath and weak structural support, and as for the survivors, well, down they go. I used their lift to go down into the Underdark and head straight for the Myconic colony, and definitely remember to blow up the explosive mushrooms before jumping into the middle of them. I talk to an injured deep gnome and I get the Boots of Speed, a very useful item that allows me to dash as a bonus action. After a long rest, I let Volo stab me in the eye to get an even better eye that lets me see invisible things. Volo leaves camp after that because he feels bad about stabbing your eye out, but I don't mind. Thanks, Volo. Back in the colony, I recruit Sovereign Glut to come with me and head out. The 2 Minotaurs are much easier to deal with than I would have imagined. And with them dead, I could resurrect them as my servants thanks to Sovereign Glut. With a Minotaur and a Mushroom Man by my side, I fight some more inhabitants of the Underdark. And go on to the spectator fight. By throwing a basilisk oil from up here at one of the statues, I'm able to trigger combat without being surprised, and with one ally already on my side. The spectator unfreezes one statue per turn, and the drow that are unpetrified fight on its side until they take damage. So I had Shovel ready to remove the spectator's charm and send in my Minotaur. I start throwing books and shoes at the unpetrified drow from a safe position to break their charm without dealing too much damage. That does the trick, and all of these other people manage to defeat the spectator while I'm just chilling out in safety. After our glorious victory, I go on to kill the remaining drow. Hey, listen, they would have turned on me anyway. It's really self-defense if you think about it. Further down the road, there's a group of Dragar that the other Mushroom Man told us to kill, so I just decide to try facing them head on. The game even advises me to run away, and I do find myself in a spot of bother when Sovereign Glut dies and I lose control of my undead servant. On my next attempt, I managed to surprise the enemies But this attempt is still not going great until I release my spectator from the flask and run away as far as I can. The spectator did a decent job clearing out the animated corpses before it died, and I used this time to get up onto a high position from which I could throw down my pike at the remaining enemies. Then it's just a matter of attacking from a distance and using my bonus action to retreat out of their range. They follow me all the way into the Myconid colony, but nobody there cares or tries to stop them from entering, leaving all the work to me and then getting mad at me when I try to loot the corpse afterwards.
Myconid denounces your theft.
With the Dragar gone, I'm able to take their boats and sail to the ancient forge. Here I'm supposed to rescue True Soul Naaber, but I start by exploring and helping these Rofei fight against oppression, which finally gets me to level 5. With 1 level in Druid, I get more spell slots and additional spells. However, the only one worth mentioning is that I gain access to Longstrider, so I'd have a permanent plus 10 foot movement as soon as I remember to cast it. I explore further until I get to this spot right here, from where I can trigger combat against some slimes using a mage hand. From up here, I can attack the slimes on my turn and then run back to a position where their ranged attacks couldn't reach me for a slow but safe win. Later, I deal with some mimics in a similar fashion. I finally decide to rescue Nia, just to kill him myself. Rifra and some other Dragar turn on Nia and I side with them. On my turn, I push Nia into the lava and get up this ladder. Now I just have to deal with the archer that's up here, and then I just need to sit back and watch the Dragar fight among themselves, throwing the occasional spear down until only friendly Dragar remain. It's not even close, because there are just so many more Dragar fighting against Nia than with him. Pushing deeper into this area, I find the Grim Forge. I make sure to make a quick trip back to the Susur tree in the Underdark to grab a Susur flower before heading there. The entrance of the Grim Forge is guarded by some animated armors, but when you're carrying a Susur flower, it completely incapacitates these enemies, making it quite easy to deal with them by throwing them into the lava below. Just one more obstacle before Grim, and that's these fire methods lying in ambush. I'm able to draw them out using my summon while staying at this elevated position. But they are still dangerous because they can cast heat metal at long range. No problem, just unequip all metal armor and weapons. Their only other way of dealing damage is a short range fire breath or their claws. So from here, it's easy to pick them off using Ray of Frost, which they are vulnerable to before they can get close. Now Grim. This fight is usually pretty dangerous. Grim can do insane AoE damage and the lava makes navigating difficult. And since he is immune to almost all damage, it usually takes a whole party working together to maneuver Grim onto this platform, so you can smash him with the big hammer. But I just fly up this ledge before the fight starts. With arrows you can activate the lever for the hammer, as well as the wheel that lets the lava flow into this area. All I need to do is cast minor illusion to make him walk onto the platform. Grim doesn't have any attacks that can reach me up here, so it's entirely safe. Just make sure to have your armor unequipped so the methods can't cast heat metal again. By killing Grim, I earn a lot of XP and the adamantine splint armor, which is going to be the best armor I can get until Act 3. It has an AC of 18, reduces all incoming damage by 2, prevents you from receiving any critical hit, and if an enemy hits you, they get a debuff to their next attacks. Now, at this point there wasn't anything worthwhile left in the Underdark or the Grimforge, so I moved on. And this is where I made a pretty big mistake. I used the mountain pass to travel to the Githyanki Crash, so I have taken a break from playing after defeating Grim, and this is now a few days later. And I forgot that I hadn't actually dealt with the goblins and the whole druids versus tiefling situation. So by traveling to the mountain pass, the druids sealed the grove, the tieflings all die, Halsin dies, because I didn't actually save him. The real problem is that now Daemon, the tiefling blacksmith, won't show up again. So all the unique items that he sells, including the armor of persistence, won't be available to me. Whoops, guess I'll have to manage without. Anyway, now that we are heading to the crash, I decide to go in through the hidden back entrance and disguise myself as a Githyanki to gain easy access to the crash.
Joachim.
And I head straight to the Zefisk. I eagerly accept this dubious treatment. Fortunately, I managed to succeed all the required saving throws. The machine fights against our parasite so hard that it explodes. However, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and I get the Awakened buff. That means that now my character can use all illicit powers as a bonus action rather than an action. This is incredibly powerful, since I'm going to make heavy use of these powers. With this new skill, it's time to invest more into illicit powers, and this doctor just happens to have several Mind Flayer parasites just lying around. With her life's work destroyed, I'm sure this doctor won't have any use for these anyway, and I used them to get more illicit powers. So now I'm off to the Inquisitor who's in the crash. I present my mysterious artifact to this lady, and she opens the door and tells me to speak to the Inquisitor. I go there, but completely ignore him and just grab the Skinburster Halberd, which reduces incoming damage the more you use it to attack. And by rotating these statues, I enter a secret passage that leads me to another weapon, the legendary Blood of Lathander, which I grab after inserting the Dawnmaster's crest. Soon after, I get to level 6, time for Bard, which gives me more spell slots. The spells we get are basically all redundant, but we also get proficiency in Deception. Time to clean up the crash and get some more relatively easy experience. There are some drunk kobolds in the wine cellar, so I lure them near a flammable wine barrel to start a fight with a bang. Then I use my old tactic of attacking from a distance and retreating out of range. In the room just above the kobolds is a group of Grimishkas that will ambush the player, so I use Sanctuary to bait them out safely and then retreat onto the other side of this gap. Turns out, if you are far enough away, they won't even jump after you, so I can just throw my spear at them until they are dead, while all they did was stand there snarling at me. Then I returned to the grove and realized the mistake I had made by going to the crash, as the entire grove is now inaccessible. Filled with rage, I go to the goblin camp and take my revenge. With my higher level and better equipment, now it's finally time to exterminate the whole camp. First, the goblins in the pens. Then Minthara. Then draw Rexlin. The goblins outside. It takes quite a long time to clear out the whole camp, but thanks to my high armor class, Calder-weak, damage reduction from the skin burster, and a lot of throwing enemies down pits, the camp just can't stand up to me anymore. And I emerge victorious, with no spell slots and 5 HP remaining. Now, there's just a couple more things to clean up in Act 1. I climb down the well in the blighted village and proceed to ignore all enemies, grab a magic stone from right under a giant spider and make my escape by jumping into a big hole. Putting the magic stone into this evil book gets me Forbidden Knowledge for a permanent +1 to wisdom checks and saves. Last thing on my list, the hag. I approach her territory and see right through her illusion. Using minor illusion, I lure 2 redcaps back to this pier and just throw them into the sea. And then take care of the remaining 2. With the path clear, I proceed to the tea house and confront Ethel. She just runs away and I chase after her. But there are even more enemies in my way. Using shovel, I surprise the group and make sure to kill the healer first. The rest follow soon. I use Enhanced Leap to jump down past all the traps and Poison Mist into the heart of Ethel's lair. The fight actually ended up just being tedious. At the start, Ethel summons several illusory copies that only take 1 damage to the spell. So with Magic Missile and Shovel, I'm able to cut all the illusions down quickly, while my Mage Hand rescues Myrina. And then I go into melee with Ethel. Ethel's physical attacks do little damage to me thanks to the damage reduction off of the Skin Burster, but she frequently uses Vicious Mockery, giving me disadvantage on my next attack against her. I spend a lot of time missing my attacks, and she spends a lot of time chipping away tiny bits of my health. But ultimately, I win this battle of endurance and claim my prize. A permanent +1 to an ability score of my choosing. The one and only permanent ability score increase I'm going to get this entire challenge. I put it into Charisma since I have no other way of boosting this stat, and being able to talk my way out of danger is very important. My second prize was the ability to summon the zombie Connor. Useful, even though I tended to forget that I could do it. And that's it. That's everything I needed to do in Act 1. Time to move on to Act 2.